because it seems like we have a full house. So before I start, one of the reasons why I do this is to learn from you as much as you learn from me. So your cadet here is going to help me out here. He probably is the best trained person in the room to how we're going to execute this, right? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time saying we're short cyber workforce for the nation, right? Anybody disagree with that statement? Okay, nation, 700,000, 600,000, whatever number you want to believe. How many are we short in the Department of Defense? Does anybody know?
213,000?
Short. How many are we short, not how many we have? How many are we short? Okay, last year I stood up here and told you we were 30,000 short. I'm happy to hear this year we're only 28,000 short.
That's 10% progress.
That's on my eval, by the way. I kid you not. Okay, so slight improvement, right? We're still not there. We have to scale. We have to get better, right? By the way, how many cyber professionals does the DoD turn over in a year? Anybody have an idea?
40,000.
How many?
15,000.
15. Anybody else? 40, 20. Okay, the answer is actually 10,000. 10,000.
That's how many you turn over, or how many are professionals?
I call them all professionals. That's how many we turn over, mil civ, okay? So if you put that in perspective, the next largest agency in the federal government for cyber professionals, and I'm labeling everybody as a cyber professional, their entire population is 8,000. Our entire population is 225,000. Okay? So let's talk scale, right? I need to scale things. So with that, help me out. Who's all in the room? How many, okay, I'll try to go through these. Let me ask this question first. How many people know what a work role is? Okay, that's more hands than I had last year. How many people here are in the cyber workforce? If you're in the cyber workforce, you have to have a work role. So if you don't, find out what it is and get it coded. Okay? Now, let me clarify, because I saw some civilian hands not go up. Who's in the cyber workforce? When I say 225,000 people, what does that all include? Who are you? Military. Any reservist, National Guard in here? Okay, includes all components, military. Civilians, who are my civilians? Includes all of you. Okay? And the third is our contractors, our industry partners. Because in ops, how many people here work ops, cyber operations? Wow, I expected a lot more cyber ops. How many people work cyber effects? Any 35s? Cyber intel, okay? Cybersecurity. And the biggest category, how many people here work IT? Which is all cyber, okay? So total force, work roles. If you haven't heard what work roles are, I think this is a fundamental change, innovative way to look at the workforce. I don't care what your occupational series is across the department. I care what work you do. We have over 50,000 2210s. Any 2210s in here? Civilian 2210s, IT specialist. Nice, 50,000. I need to know what you do. Are you exploitation analyst? Are you a systems engineer? Are you an AI machine learning programmer? Right? Are you a data scientist? That's what I care about, what you actually do, what role you perform. So we'll cover that a little bit. Okay, that's kind of my quick intro, let you know our scale. By the way, in DoD, hopefully you all, this room will know this. I'll ask the cadet here. Sorry to pick on you, but you're in the front row, so you're ripe. I used to be one 40 years ago or so. How many people in the Department of Defense, do you think? Just mil civ, how many people? 500,000. Okay. Another guess from a junior person. Yes, sir. 3 million. Okay, much closer. Okay, Army alone has 1.1 million, right? That's reservists and active duty. Okay, you include the contractors, we're about 4.1 million strong in DoD. What's the biggest company in the world? Industry, you guys should know this. What is it? Walmart. That's actually a true statement. How many people does Walmart have? See, these are people who've attended my talk before, so. Walmart is half our size, all right? So I'm trying to manage the cyber functional community for the entire department. Okay, that's my job. It's one of my 5 jobs. I kid you not. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how we're doing it. Hopefully this is informative. What I found is we have lots of policy out there that no one reads. And I get it. I used to be in your seat. Leo this morning, Leo Garcia, the Army CIO, said he put out, 54 policies this year? Have you all read 54 policies from him? Okay, I put out one, the Cyber Warfare Strategy. How many people have read that? More hands than last year. I like this. More importantly than strategy, though, is our implementation plan. Okay? So 38 initiatives. How many people have seen our implementation plan? Less hands. That's not good. That's not good. Okay? Because where the rubber meets the road is in implementation, right? Let's actually do things. I'm tired about talking about the problem, and I want to have solutions to it. So what are some of those solutions? And we'll get into that here. Okay. You all can read. That's kind of how I'm going to go through it. Okay, again, lots of issues and questions, and we can debate what's cyber and what's not cyber. Here's how we define cyber. Okay, my screen is interesting. Who's flipping slides? Am I or somebody else? I don't know. Okay, how do we define cyber? 8 categories of cyber. This is what it is. Okay, so if you're in one of these categories, you're in cyber. You can read it. Cybersecurity, big. IT, big. Cyber effects, small. Cyber intel, smaller. Right? And then the bottom categories, you can have data, huge. Right? Some of that data is in cyber, some is not. Right? AI, some is in cyber, some is not. And then software. Any software guys? DevOps? Software? Okay, good. 17, Charlie? Delta. All right. I can't see your rank. Major. Good. Where are you at? Here?
I'm the lead developer for Army Cyber's laboratory here.
Oh, awesome. Great. Okay. My son's a 17 Delta also. So that's how we define cyber. Okay? It's broader than what people sometimes think of just effects or just ops or just cybersecurity. It's much broader. Okay? And again, this applies to MIL, civ, and contractors. Okay? That's how we count. Okay, our 4 pillars, if you will, here, kind of our vision, right? We break this up in a number of different areas. The first is, and I already hit the work roles. So if you don't know what a work role is, it defines the knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks for each of our 72 work roles. Okay? That is much better than a PD, position description. That's much better than an occupational series description. Okay? By the way, for those who are working in this space on a regular basis, how often do you think your knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks change? How often? Every 5 years? Anybody agree with that? 3 months? Okay. You work in cyber effects, that may be true, right? I would say continuously changing in some of that field, right? Okay. I usually put out 8 to 12 months. 8 to 12 months, our technology is fundamentally changing. In other words, if you're not in this space for over a year, you're out of the space. Okay, you need more training to get back in. Anybody disagree with that statement? Wow, I have a very welcoming audience.
It's hard to apply that to every single work.
Agreed.
Some of them won't be like that, and it won't
Right.
be that way. In other words, like you said, we'll go faster.
I'm touching nothing. Agreed. So some will change much faster than others. Effects will change much faster than others. Intel might change faster than others. Data scientists, probably pretty consistent. Okay? But from my challenge, I have to be responsive, agile, and flexible to your needs. So how do I do that? Okay. Where my IT person is, I'm literally, somebody is controlling my brief. I don't know if it's... Okay, so work roles. So one of my challenges in work roles is being responsive to your needs. So as KSATs change, I have the ability to change these every quarter. I have a 4-star level panel with 3 4 stars on it. My team actually runs that panel, and I bring in a request from the field to change those KSATs. Anybody familiar with the NICE framework? 54? How many times have they changed their KSATs? How many? Anybody here from NICE, by the way? Sissa? I get in trouble when I have meetings with them all the time because I kind of... What's that?
They're Hallmarks, not CISA. They're NIST.
NIST, okay. Yeah, under NIST. So I do have a mole in the room. Great. That's how I pull you out. No?
I just collaborate with them a lot.
So, but how responsive are they?
So they just updated the framework from 2017 back in March.
Correct.
And they did open call panels, and those lasted about 2 years.
Okay. Every quarter, every 2 years. Okay. So this is my rationale with working with the White House and the Office of the National Cyber Director to say why I feel this DCWF is much more powerful than the NICE framework. If they could be as responsive as we are, then I would use just that framework. And by the way, my team is definitely working with their team to make sure we're in sync. I just can't wait. The department's half the federal cyber workforce. I can't wait on them to establish a standard. We have to move out. Okay? So that's the framework there. So I need your inputs to that. As those KSATs change, you have to let us know. Okay? Of our 72 work roles, we changed over half of them since 2017. Fact. Okay? And then we've added a bunch, okay, to include the AI data and software. Okay, the next one, qualification, 8140. You heard Leo talk about today. I propped that question. 8140. Anybody knows what is that? Half. Some hands go up. Proficiency levels. By February of 25, cybersecurity has to be coded for your proficiency levels. So today, the entire workforce is, Nate's here, I'm going to pick on him in a little bit, is supposed to be coded. I call this the high school level of coding. So your position you're in, your position, right, the manpower position, whether it's vacant or a person fills it, the spaces has to be coded to a certain level. And then the people who are in that, the personnel systems, have to be coded. Hopefully they match. I'm a manpower person. I understand they never will fully match. But let's get to a 90% solution. I think we can make decisions from that. Okay? So that's the high school level coding. In February, we go to the next level. We now code proficiency levels. Army has how many proficiency levels for cyber? 3. We have 3 also. I think we call them different names. We call it basic, intermediate, and advanced. And Army calls it basic, senior, and master. Okay? I have to do the DOD, Army, all the services do their own, but I'm glad to see 3. Some have 5, we have 3. Okay, so what are those levels? We determine at OSD, we determine the basic level. Your organizations determine the intermediate and advanced. We've given you that latitude and power. Actually, you forced us to do that when we did this 3 years ago. So now you're all coming back to us and saying, help, how do we determine those? Okay, well, we're willing to help you. We'll work with that. Okay, that's qualification. Huge, huge step up. What is the importance of qualification? Seems like a lot of work. What do we get out of it?
Standardization.
Standardization across the board. So if I go to a COCOM, if I'm going to Cybercom, and I'm from the Air Force or I'm from the Army, I have the same level of qualification for that position. Contractors too. Okay, it's to standardize that. Why else though? That's not necessarily a good enough reason, right? That's not a good ROI for all this work. What's another reason? This is what this is about, is your level of competency.
Capability and capacity.
Capability and capacity, I like those.
Pathways to advancement.
I hope that happens from this, right, to see those pathways. We'd love to create that in our talent management program. You've heard my talk.
No, so from my perspective, what I think the answer is, it also helps is it gives you the data to be able to identify what training requirements you need for the admin. Allow you to call for that kind of
Great. It's a resource driver.
compensation.
Eventually compensation. We're missing one of the key words. Do I have any 3s in here? Readiness. Readiness. How many times we've heard readiness and, POM briefs, steam bank briefs, whatever, readiness. I think for the cyber workforce, this is the key to readiness. If I know where my force is and I know where I want them to be, that's a readiness gap. which then drives resources, which then drives training, which then drives the whole machine to get us to where we need to be ready. By the way, one of the biggest problems with our force, I have the positions, I don't have the people, right? We're 17% strength shortage, okay? So we got to fill that gap, and then we fill the training. Okay, that's training. Next one, academic outreach. This is one of my new hats. Anybody here from academia? I know a couple of you are. Okay, so I now am the director of the Cyber Academic Engagement Office, directed to us in Congress in December with the FY24 NDAA. Okay, great. Like any task from Congress, they give you a task. They tell you, here's all your responsibilities and everything they want you to do, and then they give you no money and no resources, no people. So it's me. One of my accomplishments this year is we stood up the office. I'm the director. Okay, more to follow on that as I build that team out. I am excited to brief. This is news for all you news people. I have hired a principal director of that office. Her name is Diba Hadi. She came to us from the FBI. She just started on Monday. I was hoping to have her here. She's not in DTS yet, so couldn't travel. New director, so great. And then our champion personnel system is Cyber Accepted Service. How many people here have heard of Cyber Accepted Service? I'm surprised the military have heard of this. So this is a powerful personnel system. There are 4, and I'll cover this later, there are 4 reasons why I think you should do CES, but I'm not going to compete. If you want to do CS, great. If you don't, great. Fill your workforce. This is just a method to help you do that. Let's see if this works. Okay, our strategy. Based on those 4 goals to get to those 4 pillars. These goals have been the same goals probably a long, long time. Those pillars, besides the first one of identification, everybody knows recruitment, retention, and qualification are key to the success of any workforce. What's identification here? This is the coding aspect. Who do I have? Who don't I have? By specialty, by location, and then I can make decisions on pay. Okay? My goal through this is pay parity. And I'll cover a little bit more of how I think we can get there. You have the authority to do it today. To me, it's a resource issue. Any 8s in here? Any resource people? Okay, great. We can really dog them out. Okay, great. We then put the strategy. Again, the strategy is great. You have these high-level goals. Okay, how do you know if you've ever done anything? Half the people will never even read it. This is, to me, common sense. It's actually about 17 pages of the strategy, really short. Implementation plan, 38 initiatives. We've already done 2 of them. I've already changed 3 of them. Okay, I want to be agile, flexible, responsive. I told the team, I'm not going to say no. You come up with a good idea, let's try it. Well, it didn't work 10 years ago. I don't care. Let's try it again. Okay? And then I'm going to use data to measure whether we are impacting retention and recruitment. Right? Is our industry exchange program impacting retention? Anybody know? What does the data say? Anybody do an industry exchange? 1. And you're still here. Who'd you do it with?
Dell.
You did it with Dell? Okay. And you went to Dell for how long?
For 9 months.
9 months. Wow, that's a long one. You can do it for a month, guys. 2 months, 3 months. You determine the time period, up to a year. Okay, 9 months. And then you came back to federal service?
I did.
Because you love the federal service. You love our mission. All right. Anomaly. The data is not indicating to me that they're coming back. They go to Dell, and Dell says, I'll pay off your commitment, and I'll give you this much more money, and come work for us. Is that good ROI for retention? Okay. Again, we're going to measure that and make that determination using data. I can tell you all of my bosses love the idea. Let's do industry exchange, help with retention. The data doesn't say that. Let's stop doing it. Okay? I'm glad you're back, by the way. Thank you. And hopefully you learned enough so that we can now partnership with our industry partners at a higher level. All right. So that's kind of on the initiatives there and what we're doing. By the way, if you're not part of that team, I can't do it alone, right? So we have OCRs out there, coordinating responsibility, primary responsibility. The services are involved. Get on those teams. Find out how to get involved. We need your help to implement these. And If we're doing something that looks really stupid, then tell us, okay? Okay, I already covered work roles. We're on to 72. I think any questions on work roles and the way I explained it originally? So I want to leave time for questions. Interesting story. I'm at a federal agency working group up at the White House, and the NSF, National Science Foundation, says, we would like some money to spend a year creating AI work roles. I did a double take, and I said, we created them 6 months ago. Why don't you just use ours? Well, we're not sure that yours are correct. I said, okay, let me know. Here they are. 2 months later, same meeting. We meet every 2 to 3 months. They said, we like the DoD AI work roles. We're going to incorporate those. I saved them a year of work and no funding, right? So the work roles are out there. They're public. You can go download them all. If you find out you're a 111 and you say, well, that task doesn't meet what I'm doing, let us know. Okay? Bring it up through your chain. Bring it up through the Army. And I'll tell you if it gets to my desk, we'll make action. Okay? That's what I promised you. Okay. 8140, qualification. Huge change, right? This is a fundamental change from 8570. Leo kind of said, yeah, we're transitioning from 8570. No, 8570 is long gone, right? This is 8140. This is establishing the basic level of qualification for everyone, okay? Not only that, what learning management system are you going to use to monitor this? How are you going to measure that readiness? How do I know you're trained? That's all part of this, continuous qualification. The biggest change, though, anybody here have any issues hiring? Okay? What's some of your challenges in hiring? HR, right? Okay, 100% agree. HR doesn't understand this. One of the deals we did here is we eliminated the requirement to have education, the requirement to have certifications, the requirement to have experience. You can't require. They're nice. They're good. You should have them. You'll probably be a better candidate if you do, but it can't be required. Go read a PD on USA Jobs Today for a cyber, EA. I want a PhD with 20 years of experience and list of all these certs. Okay, they don't exist. And if they do, everybody wants that same candidate. We have to fundamentally rethink how we do this. Okay, and I'll get into how you can do that through CES. Okay, but no longer can you require. Now, did I make it easier for hiring managers or harder? Harder. What's your criteria for selection? For qualification? To me, it's the KSATs. What position you're hiring? What are they going to be doing? Regardless of occupational series, I gave you all the KSATs. That's what you base your decision on. And what's the best way to base your decision on an individual, whether they can do those knowledge, skills, abilities, or tasks? Assessment. What kind of assessment? Competency. So I'll play the term. My experts here will say, they'll correct me tomorrow if I'm wrong. Right? Well, on the job, but then you have to get in. How do you get in? Right? I'm talking about hiring here. So I still call it skills-based assessment. Now, when I say that, OPM says, yeah, we do that. We give you 5 questions and say you're an expert in all of those, and you have your assessment. Pass. Okay? That's not what I'm talking about. If you're an EA, put you in a cyber range, unclassified, right? That's the hard part here. How do we make it unclassified? So somebody coming in can do it. And see how your score is. To me, if I can get to that level, then depending on your score, it's not pass-fail. Depending on your score and all those attributes, I then determine, well, you're going to be a GS, GG, whatever, 12, step 4. Okay? You have a very low score, but you come in as a GS5 and we'll work your way up. Or not qualified. Right? Let's tie that competency, that assessment, to your level. Does that sound trivial? Does that sound like it makes sense? Easy for me to say, incredibly difficult to get OPM to buy into that. Okay? We're actually working with OPM right now to establish this. I have some moles that are helping me work with them. Okay, where the heck? Oh, 8140, right? Okay, so that's the key to A140 to me. So I think I made your job harder. I think we have a solution. And by the way, I'll say this publicly, and I have, if you have skills-based hiring, skills-based assessment hiring, what's the next logical step?
Adjudicate them,
How do you mean adjudicate?
making sure that they meet the proper security requirements and clearance.
Well, you got to do all that anyways. Security is the whole thing. Okay. How do we determine they maintain their level of proficiency as our technology keeps changing? So we have a tool today. Do you guys use DP Maps if you're a civilian? It's their evaluation tool, right? Why? Why do we have that? Is that really helpful and beneficiary? And why don't we go to a skills-based annual assessment to make sure you're still at the level you're supposed to be at as our technology keeps changing? And if you're at that level or you've advanced, let's incentivize that. So you're a basic level today, you're a GS 12, you go to intermediate, I'm going to bump you, right? Rank in person, we're going for that kind of thing, okay? You get a step increase. You get some incentive. We do this for language today, right? And do I incentivize everybody? Absolutely not. Any Hispanic speakers in here? Do you get language proficiency pay? No, you don't. Any Arabic? Farsi? Do you get language proficiency pay? Yes. I incentivize for what I need. Okay? These are tools that are available to you. So we have to think through that. Okay, and to me, I fight with my threes. Every time I go out with visit a command, I always want to meet with the threes. And say, why am I here? I'm ops. Right? Because this affects readiness. So if you don't understand the readiness posture of your unit, I don't think you can effectively do ops. Okay, my new office, cyber engagement office. I'm now the check. I implemented something. I am now the head of it. Here's how we're kind of breaking down. We'll be working with each of the components to find out what you do. The main purpose of this office was directed by the Hill to have a one-stop shop in DoD for cyber workforce, academic engagement. So they're going to ask me, how many scholarships did the department give out this year for cyber? I have no idea. We give out about 100. Army gives out 97, Nate tells me. All right, how much is the Air Force? I add these all up. Where do they go? Who's all getting them? What schools? All that data, right? What's our retention rates from those scholarships, right? All that kind of things. That's what this office is going to be doing. That's just one aspect of it. What's cyber academic engagement? Anything dealing with any K through 16, okay? How many programs do we have K through 12 today? Not many. I'm really not touching anything. I had a boss, maybe you guys know this, the data says, when do youth of today make a decision on careers? How, what? 7th grade? 5th grade? 3rd grade? 3rd grade still want to be a fireman, still want to be an astronaut, okay? 7th, 8th grade, middle school, is when they figure out, this math thing's not for me, or I really like history, okay? And then they say, well, what can I do with that? And they start making their career foundational choices. When I talk to high schoolers, because I haven't done the grade schoolers yet, when I talk to high schoolers and I tell them there are civilians in the Department of Defense, they're like, no way. Civilians? Yeah, we have 900,000 of them. They have no idea. Their impression of DOD is, the soldier with the gun going to kill the bad guy. Okay, they have no idea we have 900,000. College isn't too much. I talk to them too. Here's what I tell college students. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? Give me any profession that you can think of that you want to do, and I bet you, I did get stumped once, I bet you we have that job in the department. Veterinarians, we have it. Doctors, we have it. Lawyers, we have it. HR, finance, accounting, cyber. We have it, okay? 2 months ago, one said, gymnastics. I'm like, ugh. We do have an Olympic team, but not in gymnastics. If you want to do shooting, we got that. All right. I think this is key. So why is this at OSD? I mean, holy cow. Just because of reporting requirement? No, we have to build the next generation of this workforce. We have to inspire the youth of today so we have them available to us so we can actually hire them tomorrow. Okay? So I challenge all of you to build up your intern programs. NGA just did a pilot last year. 100 high school juniors spent 6 weeks at NGA. 90 of them got secret clearances. 10 of them got TS clearances in 90 days. Partly because they're 17 and 18 years old. Where did you live for the last 10 years? Mom and dad. No record. Pretty easy clearance.
You can travel outside the country.
No, travel. So that's an awesome idea. I love that idea, right? I want to expand that and scale that, okay? That will eliminate part of our clearance issues and problems. I've been promised by DCSA that we can give, the goal is secret clearance interim in 10 days. TS in under 30. That's the goal. We're nowhere near that yet, but that will help us in our hiring. When they told me, I laughed too, but. Okay, cyber accepted service. So I think there are 4 powerful tools for CES. It's a separate personnel system. Okay, the department has regular GS system. This is cyber accepted service, GG. You have ACT-Demo. You have DSIPs, in my 35 in here. Intel is that program. Okay, I'm not in competition with any of the programs. Choose what you have. Here are the 4 big benefits today for CES. And by the way, we're trying to expand it. 1, direct hire authority. 2, pay. And when I say pay, there are 2 different parts to this. If you're a civilian, I go to GS or GG step 11 and 12 through all grades. No other special salary rate goes beyond GS 12. Ours goes through GS 15, 11 and 12. Okay? Part of pay also is targeted local market supplement. How many people have heard of this? Anybody here receiving it? 1. What's your work role?
Network analyst. I don't remember the 5 numbers.
Three numbers. 5 what? 511. Great. My guy says, yeah, you are. Great. Cyber effects analyst. Getting TLMS. Okay, and I'll give you a slide of what TLMS is and how that pay bump is. And what's the 4th? TLMS, check hire. Oh, the 4th is no 8s in here. So if you don't know, civilian pay is being cut. Congress is cutting civilian pay across the department. In the OSD, we have a separate O&M for cyber for our civ pay for CES. Not cut. So civ pay cut, CES civ pay not cut. Okay, maybe not a big deal for most of you. Don't care. That's all higher level stuff. But for your 8s, that's a huge deal. You want to protect some of your civ pay dollars? Creates O&M civ pay under CES. Okay? Okay, what is CES and how big is it? Okay, 75,000 civilians in cyber. Most of you in here. 15,000 in CES. Those are positions. About 9,000 actual people. So faces and spaces, short 6,000. Of those 9,000, how many are receiving TLMS today? Anybody have an idea? Somewhere between 0 and 9,000. 5,000. 6,000.
No, I would say less than probably 1,000.
1,100 are receiving today. Okay, by the end of this year, I'm hoping to double that. By the end of the following year, I'm hoping my goal is to have all. I'll never get there because the first letter in TLMS is targeted. So we actually target our specific shortfalls. And the first step in that is you, as operators, coming to us and saying, we're short this area and we would like to get TLMS. Once we get that from you as a request, we look at all the data. Okay, we look at the mill population, the contractor population, if we can get that, the civ population, the local market. What are the pay rates? Is it truly a shortage across the nation in that work role or just in a specific area? So I can cross-level from one area to another. We have to look at all of that data before we make a decision to do TLMS. Once we make a decision to do TLMS, it's a must-pay bill. Must-pay bill. Services do not like must-pay bills. Okay? So I still think for CES it's the way forward. Okay? This is how you get to pay parity. So what does that pay parity look like? Oh, by the way, now in CES, we're at phase 3, which doesn't exist, but we're the final implementation of it, which is individual. You can have in your organization an individual go on CES. Okay, no longer does it have to be the entire organization. So if you have an organization and you have a sixth of that organization and you think those 50 people need to be in CES, you can convert. Okay? We've empowered the services. We've actually delegated this down to the services to approve this authority. Before it had to go to my 4-star panel. I am not going to my 4-star panel to say Private Smith would like to be in CES. Can he be in CES? Here's all the data. No, services, you have that power now. Okay? Okay, pay parity. Here's just an example. Does anybody know about the 3 R's? 3 R's. Any HR people in here? It's relocation, recruitment, and retention incentives. We also have S for student loan repayment. These are programs that you have the authority to do today. Okay, TLMS I control. So this is an example of a GS. And I love these slides because I cannot read them. A GS11, Step 7 in Washington, D.C. So base pay with local market supplement in D.C. is what, 36% or something crazy, right? So the pay is $94K, right? Is that right? I can't actually read my slide on here.
Yes.
Okay, $94K here. You give them just a 25%. That's the level that you can approve. 25% retention bonus or recruitment bonus. Recruitment can be lump sum up front. Retention has to be paid out over 12 months. Or longer if you choose. I recommend 12 months. Pay jumps to 117. Nice. Okay, but compare this one with TLMS. I go from 94 to 113. The beautiful thing about TLMS is base pay. So your 3 R's are now above that. So I can go up to 142. 142. And my team doesn't like me saying this publicly, but in cyber, we can go for the 3 R's above 25% to 50%. 50%. We have that authority. That resides in my office. How many requests do I get to do that? None. We track these metrics. How many components out there are using the 3 R's? What percent do you think of our cyber population is receiving a 3R? 5%. 10%. 2%. 3%. Less than 1% is receiving this. And the actual... Really? I only have 5 minutes left? Oh. Okay. So we would love to see this. So my challenge to you, if you're a supervisor and you have that one person under you, civilian this is, right? One person under you. By the way, pay parity, I want to get to the same pay parity with my mill, right? I have to get all the mill across the board because the Army does it one way, the Navy does it another way, the Air Force does it another way, and I don't have pay parity. Let's tie it all together. So everyone who's doing that job at that location is making the same amount of money. That's my goal. And who is that? A contractor, a mill, or a civ? They all should, if they're doing the same job, they should get paid the same. I'm nowhere near that yet. Let me start with my civilians and get there.
Where's the money come from?
Oh, the money comes from your civ pay budget. So here's the question. You're my 8 plan. Okay, here's my argument with the 8s. I'm short 17%. I budget 92% of my workforce. That's what I budget for. Some people budget for 95, some people budget for 90, but it's there. If I'm 17% short, I have extra civ pay dollars. Fact. That's a fact. I can prove it to you analytically. I also, my other hat as a budget guy, I know what I do with that money. I don't want to give it to you. I want to spend it on my things. Okay? I actually said that publicly. I can't believe it. Okay. The money is there. You have to fight to get it. And the way you fight is use data to show how short you are, and if you don't have it, you're never going to get better. So I'll end there, and we'll start with questions. How much actual time do I have for this? Okay, so you're giving me time for questions.
They should give you 20 more minutes.
Sir.
As far as for the training dollars, what about the training design, training delivery, the training equipment? Are those things factored into your budget, or are you specifically dealing with workforce retention, the 3 R's, and those other programs?
Okay, so let's clarify which budget we're talking about.
Okay, I'm talking about the cyber workforce development.
So,
CWF, KSAT training.
So the budget's not mine. The budget's the Army's in this case.
Okay,
Okay? And what I'm trying to give you is the tools to fight for that budget.
okay.
Okay? So I would love to pay for all the services to go to training. Actually, not OSD's job by Title 10, right? Train, man, and equip is the service responsibility. I'm telling you the requirements that you have to meet. We also, on our website, dodemergingtech.com, on there we have a link at the bottom that says you can click on it. If you're a cert provider or a training provider, you can go in there and put your courseware in there. If you're in a work role, you click on that, you put your work role, it tells you the training you have to have required, and it gives you the providers currently approved by us to get that training. And it also tells you how much it costs. My goal for that is to have a feedback loop. So if you went to a cert training and it cost $10,000 and it was great, you say, this is great training, well worth the money. If you went to a training and it cost $1,500 and it was awful, give us that feedback too and say, not worth the $1,500 even. Okay? I don't have that in there. The lawyers are doing the lawyer thing, and we do it everywhere we go, right? Anywhere you go. You go to a restaurant downtown, it gives you all the reviews. Somehow in DOD, we have to work through that. That's my goal. But all the training's in there, and you can go there and see what training you can do.
Sir, you said that God allowing, this would actually possibly be like the military to have this, right? You want to explain this sort of stuff, but understandable. Is there an estimated time frame for even something like that? It doesn't ever happen to the military to pay like that.
So yes. So first of all, right now today, all the military have a cyber pay. Most of it's tied to experience, right? Anybody here getting cyber pay? You guys? Okay. And I think there are certain levels, right? Journeyman, whatever. Yeah. So how long does it take you to be the expert? Is it time-based or is it performance-based? It's both. Okay, so my only issue with that is the time-based part. If I come in or I attend schools at night all the time and I have increased my level of performance and proficiency and I am capable of a higher expert, why am I tied to time? Okay, so that's the part I will try to work with the services to fight with so I can then get to pay parity. Pay parity is the goal. Honestly, there's no pay parity such thing in the services today. If you enlisted on this date, you got this bonus. If you enlisted the next date, that bonus went away, you didn't get it. There's not pay parity, okay? My goal, though, if you're doing the same job, you should be paid relatively the same amount. So we have to get there. And I'm not in competition, because what happens then is, oh, I'll bump mine, and then we go like this, and then we can't afford anything, okay? But the state we're in today, 17% short, the nation's short. We know this is a shortage. We have to create this next bench, and then we have to pay our people more. The cyber workforce will cost more, Nate, than our regular workforce. It's going to. Also, transition to CES costs you nothing initially. No, to transition to CES, you come in as you are. Then you have all these flexibilities. So then you will be able to pay more, right? Okay, next question. Sir.
I was curious if OPM had shared anything with you about the assessment program that DHS's CTMS program uses and what you thought of them.
So right now I'm working with them actually to get the same authorities that they have for CTMS, their cyber talent management program, and their authorities, because they have a lot more authorities than we have. So that's my first step. But I am open to, there are lots of, any vendors in here who do cyber assessment tools, cyber ranges and that. So lots of vendors out there. By the way, industry is almost already there. This is how industry is hiring today. So my son's a developer and one of the first commissioned cyber lieutenants out of West Point in 2014. So it is 10 years old. And the general said that this morning. And he got a job for Amazon programming, and in his 5th interview, they threw him in a room and said, you have 2 hours, knock out this code. And if he did, he gets hired. And he's making like twice what I'm making, so good for him. He's not coming back home. But I'm always interested in those. The problem is I am not going to dictate to the services how to do this. So I need service buy-in to try this in a pilot and see how well it works.
As part of your pay parity and also retention, I believe the authority exists, but I haven't seen it used, supplementing CSP matching. Right now, cyber's at 5%, particularly with CES, you have less job security, but you could potentially bump up the CSP match.
So
See what Dell will give or whoever else might give.
yeah, don't know if we have that authority. If we could take a note, Justin, on that, and let me look into that. But I'm concerned about a comment you said. CES, you have less.
Compared to the regular civil service, they have less job security and reinstatement rights than a regular GS.
So that's a myth. That's not true at all. So I would love to debunk that myth. You're the second person I've heard that in 6 months. We are a hybrid, CES, a hybrid system. It has all the protections of Title V, as well as the hiring authorities under Title X. So that's a myth. Now, the one issue I'm trying to work through is, I'll call it transfer, but that's not the right word, where you can move between systems. So ACDEMO has it. We do not. I'm working to get that. So once I get that, they want to tie it only to DoD. I wanted it to be a transfer to any federal agency, so rather than having to recompete. So myth, all same protections. You had your hand up first. Go ahead.
So, great. Glad to see you're doing a lot more since last year, so appreciate that. One of the things that the military typically adds is they have these accounts called TTHS, right, where I put soldiers into a training environment and develop them. So I go to ILE and I get pulled out. When we start talking about this 8140 and the requirements for continuous training, it's very hard as a DA civilian to stop my normal day job, go to training, and not lose track of where I am on just the day-to-day functions. Have you thought about something like that to try and assist with the training environment?
Yeah, civilian, there's no such thing as TTHS. And I, as a supervisor, totally understand when I'm short in my workforce, it's very hard for me to give that up another and be more short so they can go to training. I think it's a supervisor and a leadership challenge, but I think we have to overcome that. And the way we can overcome that is I am trying to provide more flexible and hybrid levels of training. First of all, the number one way we actually get our training for 8140 is 20 hours a year, continuous education. One of the ways we do that, and I'll call it on-the-job training, right? How do we pass the knowledge of the day-to-day new learnings to the force? We pass it to our group. The junior person learns from it. The senior person is like, ooh, that's cool. This is how we're going to solve it, right? But then how do we pass that knowledge not only among the service, but then also to the whole department and also to our industry partners? Because we have huge security problems here, right? Especially if you identify a vulnerability. While we're waiting to correct that vulnerability, how do we not publish that we have a vulnerability, right? Not trivial, especially when we're working with our industry partners, finance, or whoever else. So we have to establish those secure links of communication and then knowledge transfer. So not really totally answering your question. Never thought of a TTH as for civilian, but civilians have training plans today. The problem is you can't really force them to go to training because the way we hire today is you're hired as qualified in that position that you were hired for. So unless I management reassign and change the PD, which all our PDs are out of date, very difficult to do. 8140, though, requires you to go to training. So do your training plan, go to your boss and say, this reg tells me I have to go to training, you have to support me. And they may say, great, training on Saturday. Okay, well, give me my comp time and we'll go from there, right? So, bam.
Okay.
Looking forward to this one.
Are there any plans for 8140 to impact CMMC qualification for the defense industrial base?
Yeah, yes and no.
Okay.
Okay, so to be clear, right? Everybody know what CMMC is? Cyber Model Maturity Capability, something like that. It's a program in our office where every contractor working for the department has to have a maturity model assessment on where they are with cybersecurity. You have to be at a minimum level in order to work with the department. In other words, is your stuff secure? That's what we're looking. And there's a timeline to implement that over time. This has been years to make this happen. Okay, so how does that affect us? If you're working, providing a capability, my workforce requirements don't count for you. If you're actually working as a contractor, direct support, they do. Does that make sense? So that's how 8140 comes into that section of the contract. I have not said, oh, if you have a contract for the federal government, you have to meet 8140. We haven't said that yet.
Okay.
Let's see how the CMMC works out, because there's huge challenge there.
Right, and I'm thinking with the February 2025 implementation for the first round
Right.
for cybersecurity.
I would actually love to say that every contractor working for the federal government has to meet these minimum qualifications. My cert providers would love that, right? More people coming to them.
Right.
But we're not there yet at all.
Okay.
I saw another hand. Sir?
Yeah, so Orlando, Cyberspace UK. What is the plan for host analysts to receive the element? Because right now, only the network analysts host.
So, what work role, please? Do you know the work role?
Yes. It was just added to the cyber effect element. It just hasn't been completely implemented yet because we're working through pay incentives.
So it's on schedule to get it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you heard Leo this morning talk about bureaucracy. If you think there's bureaucracy in the Army, come work at OSD. Because we have all the services bureaucracy plus ours. So that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to delegate to the lowest level possible, because even to become CES for us, it took 3 to 6 months to get through OSD. We are not the holdup. I'm not going to... Anybody here working PNR? Okay. All right. So it's in the works. By the way, if you don't track, our Cyber Workforce Management Board, SWIMB for short, not this kind of swim, but Cyber Swim, we publish those minutes. You can look on there. There are 6 work roles right now, 6 or 5. We downgraded to 5. Still 6 in the works right now to be added. That's why I said we're going to double our TLMS population. SWIMB, Cyber Workforce Management Board, CWMB. Okay, and if you need my team, get with Justin Brown there, and he will be able to get out to you the last minutes. My goal is January 1st. Okay, we have issues when we go off cycle, although I will if I need to implement it quickly. But January 1st, the new pay tables come out, so we do all of ours. So, by the way, TLMS is not the same across the world, right? I have 11 regional pay tables. Some TLMS is on our global pay table, so no matter where you are, you get that same amount. Okay, but not all. Sir. Actually behind you.
Brent Nolan, Army Cyber Command, direct commissioning. So right now, the way the policy is set up, only about 2 or 3 days of actual assessments of whether this candidate's a good fit takes place. But because of policy, that process has stretched out almost to 2 years, which makes it very, very difficult for me to attract talent, which I can do initially. But once they get to a year, year and a half, they're getting job offers that entire time. It makes it really, really hard to keep those candidates interested. Is there any appetite from you or your shop, you think, of maybe helping us streamline that policy? And I'm willing to do a lot of staff work for you, if you're willing to consider it.
Yeah, so absolutely. I'll say that, but I have to work with PNR MPP, Military Personnel Policy. But let's take that note because I thought we were going the opposite direction. I thought we were trying to make direct commission, and the Army was leading the way on this for, I'll call it the digital workforce. I used to be in the Army, so I was working on this to try to get that process streamlined. So now if it's taking 2 years. By the way, new cadet, are you cyber?
No, sir.
What are you?
So I'm trying to go MI, but this is an R7 internship. But yeah, I haven't branched yet.
So now that you've seen cyber and it's so great, you want to not go MI and come cyber. Okay, well, you know there are portions of MI, lots. Cyber Intel, one of our huge portions, so you could be still cyber. But here's the question I have. I know, I just heard this yesterday. Graduation for ROTC to BOLIC is how long? You might know? 14 months. That's what I heard yesterday. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's a huge problem with our training pipeline. We have to fix that. Because what I'm pitching, you tell me if I'm wrong here. We turn over 10,000 a year. I think a key to the nation's cyber shortage is through the DoD. We're the largest, we're 50+% of the cyber workforce for the federal government. We turn over 10,000 a year. We have outstanding training, and I call them all when they get out. I don't care where they go. When they leave, they are cyber professionals in every aspect of the word. Some better than others, I get it, but we're all cyber professionals. That's what we're turning over. Now, whether you go work as a civilian then, or whether you go work for another federal agency, or whether you go work for any tech company or any company out there, that's a win for the nation. So I am pushing at the Hill level to increase our cyber authorizations among all the services and increase our training pipeline, which costs a lot of money, to fix the nation's cyber shortage. That's a radical concept. You tell me if I'm crazy. I think that's a solution. Nate says I'm definitely crazy.
So there's a lot of great information about the perspective from the organizations, but my question would be, I'm a recent cybersecurity graduate. What would you expect or want from us as people that aren't broken into the industry, maybe considering civilian or what would you want from us to follow this pipeline that you're suggesting?
So the first thing is you define what your passion is, what you want to do. So I have 72 different work roles. Look at those and find which one you want to do. Then look at the KSATs and see if you qualify. We have a website actually that you can go to and put in all of your skills, and it'll tell you if you want to do this work role, what skills you're lacking, or what certs or what education you should need. So that's a start. DoDemergingtech.com, and there's a link off of that. Go there. Tell me if it's broken. That's where I go for everything. But here's the challenge, though, right? So, are you a graduate already?
Yes.
Okay. So my key challenge to you is it's almost impossible for you to get a job in the federal workforce, because the first thing they're going to look for is what have you done. Okay. I won't use the word experience. I'll use what capability have you delivered. What have you done? Okay. So that's hard for you to articulate if you didn't do a cyber experience tour, an internship, something that you made. We went to some place and you delivered some capability. Okay, so you have to articulate that. That's the key.
So you're saying if you didn't do that, what?
It's very difficult. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So you might want to pursue some other job first, and then go into the department when you have that capability that you have done. The experience, that competency.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Sir.
CW2, Army Cyber Institute, Wayne Region. So earlier you were talking about the importance of aligning kind of the DCWF with like the workforce and where we actually kind of do business.
Yeah.
One of the big challenges the Army has is that our personnel management system was not designed to incorporate work roles, efficiency level, all these kind of things.
Which personnel management system?
I'm talking about like HRC, like the way they do manning and ability.
So IPSA is already aligned. AOS is an intermediate exchange to FMS, which is your manpower system. So we are aligning those. Now, if you're talking about the people behind the systems, I will agree.
Well, really, we're having a challenge of kind of tracking people in different work roles for efficiencies and making sure the right bodies are in the right seats. And because the system is not really designed. So would your office be the one we would consult to?
Yeah, so for you guys, Nate, raise your hand. Nate, I'm sorry, not Nate. What? What's your name? Nate. Yeah, I said raise your hand. Oh, Nate. So Nate's the POC for the Army, who's making this happen. So it starts with coding. We have to get the coding correct. Okay? So, and if you back up a step from the coding, if the KSATs within the work role aren't correct, that's where I need that feedback. But if they are, I need you to code your organizations or the organizations of the Army for those work roles. Okay, that will then drive the requirements, because you put it in the manpower systems, which then drives who you need. Then that drives the qualifications requirements for those people. So the training base can now get up to speed on the true requirement of the training. And I'm not talking about basic level training. I'm talking about all your advanced level trainings. And then what does that look like? And what's that requirement? We don't know that today, so we're not planning for it. So, but we have actually designed, thank you, we have actually designed in the systems themselves a way to do this. Now the Army has to actually do it. Okay, I got time for two more. You had your hand up way earlier.
Hey, sir. Yeah, this is probably service specific, but from your first regarding CES, what does the data show for folks leveraging direct hire authority, and what did you expect it to show?
So this is surprising, right? We just had the stats last quarter. Direct hire authority for cyber workforce over 50%. Direct hire. So that's the stats. 19,000 hired across the, I'm not talking just the Army now, I'm talking about a total. 19,000 hired, over 52% direct hire authority. So CES direct hire authority, that's huge. Okay. Also, Army, by the way, is the largest CES population we have. So all of our cyber, how many people here in our cyber? You're all CES if you're in our cyber. So I'll rephrase. If you chose to elect to go into CES, you're in CES. If you chose not to, and we start paying TLMS, sorry, you're never going to get it. Side story. We had that problem. Okay, one more. Sir, Blue.
From Augusta University, does the rest of the federal government follow the DCWF for their cyber?
No. So let's be clear on this, right? No, they do not. They follow the NICE framework. And having said that, the rest of the federal government doesn't follow really a framework at all, except for the VA and DHS. Did I miss one? Who else? VA? Oh, DOE, VA, and DHS. The rest of them, agriculture? No, right? They don't even know what work roles are, so they haven't got there. They have a very small population compared to the other big four, so they're not. They're following NICE. We in DOD are unique. Right. First of all, besides DHS and the Coast Guard, we're the only ones with military service members. That right there makes us unique. Our models are totally different. Our response rates to defend the nation are totally different. We have an enemy, right, who votes, literally. So that's our challenge. So that's why we have our unique DCWF. And if you read the National Cyber Workforce Strategy, we wrote half of it. DCWF is in there, right alongside NICE. So I made sure of that. I fought. That was when I was going to fall on my sword for. All right. Hey, Matt.
I just wanted to advocate. So if you have any more questions, 8140 DCWF or workforce in general, we're doing another session tomorrow at 10:15 over the Cyber Center, 10:15 to 11. So please come join.
Yeah, that'll be much more at a lower level, specifics, implementation. Nate?
And at that point, we will specifically address what the Army is doing.
Awesome. All right. Hey, you guys were a great crowd today. Appreciate the interactions. Thanks.